Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now, Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde, 5th of December at the Royal Albert Hall. This fight is on, this fight is happening. Now, this is going to be an incredible matchup. Obviously, both fighters, interestingly enough, had the same opponent last time out, Deck Spellman. Lyndon Arthur went to a 12-round decision and Anthony Yarde stopped him, becoming the first man to do so. Now, Lyndon Arthur in his fight with Deck Spellman took a different approach and went to box him instead of knock him out. Obviously, Anthony Yarde went in there looking for the knockout, and I know that maybe Anthony Yarde's work didn't look as polished maybe as Lyndon Arthur's at some point, but he went in there to knock him out. So he went in there with that kind of game plan, to take punches, to land punches. So we cannot really take too much from these two fights because obviously both of them went in there with different kind of game plans. So just because Anthony Yarde stopped him earlier, but maybe got caught a bit more than Lyndon Arthur did, and maybe it looked a bit more messy than Lyndon Arthur's performance, but as I said, they both went in there with different game plans. Lyndon Arthur went in there to box and win on points, whereas Anthony Yarde went in there to stop him. He wanted to be the first man to stop Deck Spellman, and he became that man. So ultimately, we cannot take too much from the fact that they both have the same opponent last time, and they both won in different fashions, one more devastating than the other. Now, Lyndon Arthur is a good fighter. He's very tall and very rangy, but at some points he does have balance issues. He has a good jab and he does stand tall, but he is not very creative, and maybe that was the reason why he did look to box against a Deck Spellman, because obviously when you knock someone out or you are going in there to stop someone, you do have to have that creativity and punch dexterity. Pick your punches and use combinations. He wasn't doing that. He was kind of just sticking behind the jab and landing a few right hands here and there. It was a good boxing performance, but ultimately it wasn't the most creative. He does have kind of slow feet at times. He doesn't move incredibly fast, but ultimately his positioning is quite good, so he does get away with that. And he's a taller, bigger man anyway, so his feet aren't going to be lightning fast considering that. There isn't much head movement from him, but he often catches shots on the gloves, and he has good lateral movement, which does kind of counteract that. And as I said, he is very long and very rangy. He does sit on the ropes at times, which is not great, but he is tall, he leans back, and he often does avoid shots, but that's not great leaning on the ropes and waiting there against someone like Anthony Yarde. So that will be something he'll have to work on and make sure he doesn't get caught on the ropes with Anthony Yarde, because he will just go to work and he won't just go for the headshots, he will also work down to the body. So that is something that Lyndon Arthur will have to work on, especially in there with Anthony Yarde. It's a big step up from Deck Spellman. Anthony Yarde has gone to a higher level. He's gone to world level to fight Sergey Kovalev. So he's proven that he can hack it at that level. Lyndon Arthur is jumping up through the levels to fight Anthony Yarde. And the reason why he sometimes gets caught on the ropes is because he goes back in straight lines. He doesn't often offer angles. He steps back sometimes with his lead foot, which is not great because obviously then your feet come at square. So that is one thing he does need to be very careful of in there with a puncher like Anthony Yarde. So being caught on the ropes can sometimes be a reason for not using angles, and he doesn't. So he needs to use angles a bit more. He has good positioning, as I said. Slow feet, yes, but good positioning can kind of counteract that because he is able then to use angles. He's in a good position where he starts, so he doesn't have to have really fast feet to change his positioning. So ultimately, he will be able to do that. But let's talk about some of the things that he does really well. He has a good engine. He doesn't seem to get very tired. He throws good long looping shots, which can be dangerous, especially if you create that distance between you and your opponent. So Anthony Yarde will be looking to sit on the chest of Lyndon Arthur because he doesn't want Lyndon Arthur keeping him at range because, as I said, he has a good jab, good positioning, and throws those long looping shots. Yarde will get caught often with those punches unless he sits on the chest of Lyndon Arthur and gets close to him to land those body shots. So those looping shots could be a key in this fight with Anthony Yarde for Lyndon Arthur. He does throw a good uppercut off the ropes, and ultimately that does get him out of trouble when he is stuck on those ropes. So he can use that, but ultimately he doesn't really want to be sitting on the ropes against someone like Anthony Yarde. Now, this guy does often build into fights. He doesn't necessarily start at a hellacious pace. He builds into it, builds up, and that is good for his engine because obviously he doesn't want to be tiring out in the latter half of the fights. And ultimately, he has a good jab. He has the physical advantages, the height as well. So he can control his opponent early on to make sure that he builds into the fight at the pace that he wants. And he does seem to be happy to box behind the jab because it's a good, fast, accurate jab. So he is happy to kind of box all night, and he will land his punches and combinations where he can. That uppercut is a really good weapon, but ultimately he is happy to stick behind that jab and stick to his boxing. But I sense that Anthony Yarde is not going to allow him to do that in this fight. And one shot that he does throw really well, which he could really develop, is a right hand under the elbow to the body of his opponent. That could be a very dangerous shot. But that is often when he presses the action, when he tries to go forwards, which he doesn't do that often. He would rather box off the back foot than press the action against his opponent, because he's more of a boxer than a brawler. Obviously, he's tall, rangy, good jab, good positioning as well. So he would rather box off the back foot and use his physical advantages than go forwards and look for a knockout. But I think that in his fight with Dex Spellman, he could have pressed him a bit more, maybe forced him to go backwards because he was the bigger, stronger man. So he could have used that to his advantages and maybe pushed Dex Spellman back, maybe worked that right hand in to the body because he throws it extremely well. That uppercut as well. Maybe when Dex Spellman throws that jab, he could have stepped off of it, maybe thrown that uppercut that he throws extremely well and countered Spellman as he came in. So again, maybe a little bit more creativity with his punches, and he does have creativity with his jab. He does range it up a little bit. He throws it straight and he also throws it from the hip. And he does really work in those body shots quite well. But I think that at times, maybe he does need to press the action a bit more. And against Anthony Yarde, he will be forced to do that. He will be forced to fight rather than just box, because Anthony Yarde is not going in there to have a boxing match with Lyndon Arthur. So I do think that Lyndon Arthur is a solid, good fighter, and he will represent some tough challenges for Anthony Yarde. And obviously, Anthony Yarde has already been to world level. This is more of a step up for Lyndon Arthur. He is a good fighter, good boxer, but I think that it would be interesting to see him going forwards as opposed to going backwards. He's a brilliant boxer going off the back foot and has great potential. But sometimes in there, you are not allowed to have your space and box. And Anthony Yarde is not going to allow him to do that. So varying that jab, that uppercut as well, and varying his body shots could be key in this fight. That right hand under the elbow of his opponent. Those are things he will definitely need to implement in this fight with Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde, on the other hand, we know what he can do. We've seen him in there with Kovalev, almost had him out of there in that round, that 8th round. So Anthony Yarde has proven himself at world level. He didn't win that fight, but he did not disgrace himself. He wasn't losing rounds by a large margin. I mean, he definitely was behind on the scorecards, but each round that ticked by, you could never really say that Kovalev absolutely battered him that round. I mean, you can never say that Kovalev really stepped on him and made him look silly in there and out of place. So I do think that this fight is a really good, evenly matched fight between Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yarde on December 5th, Royal Albert Hall. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.